The book is Don't Get Arrested in South Carolina. The author is J.B. Sims. He's with us now. Let me briefly get everybody up to date. There was a good man. He was a dentist. His name was Dr. Harry Sunshine, and he was killed September 30th, year 2000. He was struck and killed while he was riding his bicycle early in the morning in Columbia, South Carolina. And a passerby saw Dr. Sunshine laying there with his bicycle on the side of the road. Someone had just left him there to die and rendered no aid. The man that was apparently guilty of this, folks, of this hit and run, was a former police officer, as I understand it, and a current drug dealer. And the system just began to cover up that crime and then later started to set out to blame an innocent man, and it went from there. J.B., first of all, enlighten the listeners on what you do for a living and how that drew you into this whole system.
Well, John, right now I'm a writer. I never thought I would be, but I wrote the book, and I've been out in Hollywood, which is foreign to me, getting this thing put into film. We got some producers looking at it, which is very nice. But now I was a private investigator, and the gentleman came to me, telling me he was accused of being involved in this man's death, and a black man from New York, very intelligent, very affable, 30-something-year-old young man with a gold tooth, and said nobody would help him. So I said, well, I'll help you. I don't care. I'm not from around there. And he was arrested, and one of the first things that happened was the fact that when he was arrested, the arresting officer told him, you don't need to get you a lawyer, we'll get one for you. And that was the first of many things that happened. I mean, you got an arresting officer that finds a lawyer for you. I keep saying, this isn't Russia. This is America. This is unbelievable. And it went from there. They arrested a man on what was called an unclassified misdemeanor. Basically, it was having owned a car that had property damage in excess of $1,000. That is a unclassified misdemeanor, like a traffic ticket. Well, they brought him back, and after the whole thing, Dr. Sunshine was a very well-known man, and all the law enforcement agencies were trying to convince everybody they were trying to find the killer. The bottom line was they were trying to cover up for the killer. They put a $250,000 bond on my client for an unclassified misdemeanor. $250,000. And the first man to come visit him in jail was the lawyer that the cops sent to him. Now, how many police officers do you know send lawyers to a person they arrest? That was the first thing. Can you imagine that, John?
Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, I've got a co-host here that has a question for you. Jeffrey?
Yeah, how you doing, JB? Jeffrey. I've got a lot of dealings in the past with police officers and whatnot, so you're basically telling us that there was some kind of massive cover-up here going on to hide the real nature of the police officer in this case?
Yeah, the original suspect, the initial suspect, was never interviewed. I had definitive information that he was the original suspect from a number of people. And when the arresting officer obtained the warrant from the magistrate, from the judge to arrest my client, he falsified information on the warrant in order to get my client's car. And he told the judge, said, don't worry about it. This thing will never go to trial. And that's how they got him to sign the warrant.
Huh. So they're basically just going to absolutely, destroy someone just to have a little cover-up.
Well, and since they knew it wasn't going to go to trial, everything they did would never come out in the public. That is the main thing about plea agreements. Every indiscretion that occurs by a police officer or the prosecution is never brought to light because the man took a plea agreement because he's scared to death. My client wouldn't do it, and when I defended my client, hey, they came after me too.
Wow, JB, how did they come after you? What did they do? What did they try to do, at least?
I went into the prison. My client had a death threat. Had a hit put out on him for not talking, right? Not saying that he didn't know anything. So he had a death threat. I saw the threat. It was a written letter from a lady in jail, in prison. So when he got the letter, I took it to the authorities and said, look, somebody's trying to kill my client. And they said, give it to the sheriff's department. They'll handle it. I said, the sheriff's department are the ones that arrested him. Are you kidding me? So my client was out on bond. So I went to the prison to talk to the warden and everybody, to get in to talk to the people, to the prisoner that wrote the letter. I couldn't get to her, but I did identify some people that were involved with the death threat, that knew about it. So I talked to the girl, and she told me that when she was in a prison in Florida, some Jamaican drug dealers, women drug dealers in Florida that were in prison, knew the whole case, knew everybody's names, knew everybody, and told and said they should have. Charles's wife should have just hidden the car so no one could find it. They knew everybody, so that confirmed that the Jamaican drug dealers were the ones that were involved with the original suspect, which was John Brown, who was a former law enforcement officer. So it's not made up.
Wow. Well, JB, because of the phone connection, we'll probably let you go in another minute or so when we go to another break. But fascinating book. I don't want to give away what has happened towards the end of this, because it's really riveting. Plus, I'm not all the way through the book, and I don't want you to spoil it for me either. But I tell you, JB, I
apologize for the connection. I am caught up in traffic, and it was a bad sign for me. But I wanted to get back in touch with you, John. You call me. Let me know when you want to reschedule it. I'll be glad to do it.
Oh, and let's do it, JB. It's a fascinating book, and I hope you can get this made into a movie, because it's a story that has to be told so that we can, push back against this tyrannical judicial system in South Carolina. And
if the people want to know a bit about the book itself, they can go to the website for the book. They can Google "Don't Get Arrested in South Carolina," or they can just go to Eric, E-R-I-K, Eric Publishing, and they'll know, they'll be able to read about what the prosecutors can do. And the blog that I have on the website explains through 2 different Supreme Court cases that came up this past year that had to do with prosecutors not giving up information. And one more prosecutor in Iowa that was sued for, I forgot how many thousands of dollars, because they put too many.
All right. Yeah, folks, I probably should apologize to all of you because of that bad phone connection. There just wasn't anything we could do about it. JB was stuck in traffic, and he couldn't get home to do this show, and he was trying to tell us, but we weren't picking up. He tried calling me too, and I was packing seeds, so I couldn't get to it. But the book is "Don't Get Arrested in South Carolina" by J.B. Sims. Just Google that, and you'll come up with a place you can buy it or order it. It is a very interesting story, a personal story, and I tell you what, I don't think it's just South Carolina. And I also want to tell you that although I'm not all the way through the book, to me, the reason why this was all happening seemed to be something more than drugs. And I want to tell you that maybe it's my tin hat wearing nutter side, but it just seemed like there was a secret society that was on the inside doing all this, from judges to the prosecution to police investigators to the banker. It's really spooky, and that's part of how those secret societies work. They're everywhere. You